we've got time to talk to Cable Ties. The Aussie post-punk trio has just released their third album. It's called All Her Plans. And so we found vocalist guitarist Jenny McKechnie at home in Melbourne, where she tells us how those plans came together.
We started writing it really at the beginning of last year.
Right.
And so we wrote it over about a 6-month period and we recorded it in June last year, which in comparison to our other albums was a fairly short period,
Right.
just because of, the lockdowns and stuff here. We didn't really have much of a chance to get in a room together. So, yeah, but it also came together pretty quickly and we had a little bit more of an easygoing attitude to this one just because of everything that had happened. And I think it was a pretty enjoyable process because of that. And it meant that the album ended up sounding a little bit different to the other ones as well, a bit more folky,
More folky.
Still a decent amount of screaming on it.
I've heard some screaming on it, so I was going to say, yeah.
Yeah.
That's good for you. And you work with a guy named Paul making the record, is that right?
Yeah, Paul Mabry. We've worked with him on, I've worked with him on every album I've made in the last 10 years. For good reason. He is an excellent engineer and he was also the producer on this album. He's got this, he works in this big studio in Fairfield, which is just full of vintage amps, organs. Like
Cool.
You'll just be doing a song and he'll be like, you know what, I've got the thing for this, and rummage in the corner and pull out an old pedal with like, it's just silver with no markings on it, and go plug that in and, and then like put this organ on this bit. And and he's got this big like analog desk that he does most of the mixing on.
Cool.
And then a tape machine that he runs everything through, big like 70s tape machine. So yeah, I think, because of that, it's sort of got a quite vintage sound to the album, because all of most of the equipment's from the 1970s. So yeah.
Nice. It was a good decade. I was there.
Yeah. Well, we weren't there, but we're still obsessed with it, with the way it sounds. So,
so, are there bands that you are obsessed with from the 70s? What do you know about those?
Look, I don't know. You're probably better off talking to Nick and Shauna about that.
Oh, okay.
Actually, they'd be. I think I'm obsessed with amps from the 70s. And
oh, right.
Stuff like
Do
that.
you use orange amp?
No, I've got Well, actually, my amp's from the 60s. I've got a Golden Tone amp, which was one that was like made in Melbourne around the 60s, 65. Right. And yeah, I'm obsessed with the tremolo on that, which I use in a couple of songs. And also, it just sounds great. I need to stop breaking it though, so I only bring it out at special occasions. But yeah, there's some awesome like 60s, 70s amps that were made around Melbourne and stuff that have this very like, sort of distinctive sound to them.
But those old things, they just keep going, don't they? I mean,
they do, yeah.
You find a good person that can fix them up every once in a while when you blow out a speaker, and otherwise you're rocking forever.
Yeah, I think the tubes in it were actually from TVs at the time, and so there will come a day when we run out of tubes to replace an amplifier. So that's another thing, because of these old like 60s TV amp tubes or whatever.
Yeah. Okay. So now the album starts out with a tune called Crashing Through. So it's quite the rocker. And you got a video with it. There's a guy dressed in a moth. I assume it's a guy, but I don't know. Why does the record start that way? And tell me about the moth costume.
Everybody's ready. Everybody's waiting for me to get into gear. I'm keeping steady, trying to keep my brain from sliding sideways out of my ear.
Well, that's the first song that I wrote on the record, and it was kind of after, like, lockdown and everything, and I was like, I had dealt with everything by pretending that I didn't play music for a while because I just couldn't, I was pretty sad about not being able to go out in the world and play our last album. So, yeah, at the time we were writing Crashing Through, the lyrics for that were kind of like me giving myself a pep up song to like start writing again and get myself back in the mindset and let the album be whatever it was going to be, rather than having all these expectations for it to sort of be like the last one.
Right.
And yeah, I didn't know whether I was going to go back, and I sort of had a vague idea I was going to go back and change all the lyrics, but I ended up liking them. So
Oh, good.
that's the first song.
Good on you.
And
So,
then, the moth
yeah.
costume was
Yes,
made by someone called Gray Butterworth, who is a great costume designer.
That's a pretty good name too.
Yeah. And the idea for the video came about because the director, Triana Hernandez, had an actual moth fly into her ear.
Okay.
And then it gave her the idea for the video clip, which suited the song quite well because it's all about, being in your own head and stuff.
Right.
But sadly, the moth that got in her ear died from olive oil drowning.
Oh, right. That's how she got it out?
Yeah.
Because it actually
the
went
moth
in
our video. It went in her ear and was fluttering around while she was having a meeting.
That's horrible.
Yeah.
I wonder what it sounded like.
Yeah, not good, I don't think. She was trying to have some kind of meeting with a band about a video or something like that, and she was just like, what is going on?
I think there's a video with Taylor Swift with a fly flying in her mouth while she's singing, but it's probably not the same thing.
Yeah, and both not ideal. Yeah.
Not ideal, no. Have you ever had any things like that happen on stage? Weird animal bug infestations that attack you while you're performing?
Oh God, no, I don't think so. Thank God.
Yeah.
I wouldn't really enjoy that. As long as it's I really don't like cockroaches. So
No, nobody does. I used to work as an exterminator. It was horrible. Some of the spray these houses, and they were so infested you couldn't even walk in the room. It would be like raining roaches down, and you're just like, yeah, it's pretty bad. But let's move on from that.
I hate them. My last job, I was doing food rescue, and so there was a lot of rotten food everywhere, and therefore roaches.
Right.
And I was driving the van one day, and a huge one crawled out of the air conditioning vent while I was driving.
Oh.
I nearly crashed the car. I was like,
Yep.
You need to watch the road and not this cockroach right now because it can't actually hurt you. But my brain was telling me that I was in mortal peril.
Sounds like he could have been big enough to drive himself.
Exactly.
Take over the wheel.
Yeah.
So is that what you're doing when you weren't being a rock star during the lockdown, or what did you get up to?
Yeah, that was mostly what I was doing. I was working at Harvest, and I'm also studying. I've just finished a graduate diploma in psychology. So one day in 10 years or something, I might be qualified to become a counselling psychologist, but it'll take a long time.
Do you practice on your bandmates?
Oh, no. I tried. Yeah.
Now, the second track on the album is called Perfect Client. It's got a pretty mean bass line in there and a pretty angry vocal from you, I'm assuming. Mm-hmm. What's going on there? What got you all revved up?
Yeah, well, that's there's a few tracks on the album that are me being enraged at the mental health care system in Australia.
Right.
Just because of, some experiences of close family members with it.
Right.
And, it's been going on for 8 years at this point, where you have someone who is experiencing issues with addiction and complex mental health problems, and they're just going in and out of hospital all the time, and into detox facilities that they then get kicked out of. And then the only thing that seems to be continuous, I guess, throughout the whole thing is that they just keep on having contact with the justice system and the police. And that song, and also Silos, is really just
I was gonna ask you about that. Yes, continue.
Yeah, getting out, some frustration that there's not a more cohesive plan to help somebody who is experiencing these issues, and that means those people are pushed into the justice system consistently. Not just my family member, but everyone, and particularly people who are much less privileged than me and my family. they just end up in jail or dead. So yes, that's what that song's about.
Meanwhile, people are making money off of all that.
Exactly, yeah. And in Victoria, we've had really increased rates of incarceration here because I think there was a law that they passed after there was a man who drove a car into the Burke Street Mall. And
Right.
because of that, they, and I think he was out on bail at the time. And so they changed the bail laws in Victoria and in response to this, but really it just meant that the incarceration rates went up. And that just meant that people with mental illnesses, Indigenous people who are already so overrepresented in our prison systems, that just meant their rates of incarceration went up, particularly Indigenous women in Victoria. They're some of them the fastest increasing. Yeah,
and it sounds like knee-jerk legislation. It's like some politician saw an opportunity to go, oh, we can do something about this problem. We'll solve it right now by doing what they just did, which of course doesn't solve anything. It makes it worse, actually. But nobody thinks about that. Nobody actually takes the time to think these things out. So frustrating. All right.
Yeah.
So what's the reaction been to the record? Do people enjoy hearing these songs? Maybe enjoy is the wrong word to use.
Well, some of them are more enjoyable than others,
That's true.
But yeah, I think like we've it hasn't been long yet, and I've only been sort of doing interviews about these topics since the whole album came out. But you know, it's nice to see. I think we went on Double J the other day, and I was talking about this, and they sent through like a series of text messages afterwards of people who had, similar experiences and were like connecting with what was going on. So yeah, it's just, it's heartening to see that. Like, why else do you do it, really? But yeah, it's a very, very common problem. Everyone is touched by it in some way or another.
Now, isn't there a tune on the record that your drummer Shauna sings?
That's right. That's Thoughts Back, which is the first one on the B-side.
And it's very post-punky. It's got some great guitar in there, too. So tell me how that came about.
I want my thoughts back. I want my thoughts back. I want my thoughts back.
We all were writing together. Nick, the bass player, came up with oh no, maybe Shauna came up with the drum part for that one. Can't remember. Anyway, and then we sort of wrote this sort of all the music, and I was like, oh look, Shauna, I feel like I need a bit of help with this one. Like, do you want to get together and we'll talk about the lyrics and stuff, and maybe write something together? Because I knew that she had made the mistake of telling me that she'd done some solo album. Not album, an EP together where she'd done all the tracks, and I was like, right, she is songwriting.
You're holding out on you.
Yeah. And then, she just came back, and I was trying to do like the soft sell, being like, let's just help me out here. But, and then eventually make her write the song. But she came back to me with a fully written song, and I was like, fucking great, go for it. Awesome. Yeah. So yeah, she just came back with this fully written song, and, that was it. Now on the next record, she's going to have to write half of it or something.
Does she know that?
She will.
She will.
Yeah, exactly. She does. So, she barely played the drums when we first started. And then I roped her into the band to be a bass player. But then the drummer that we originally lined up disappeared. And so I was like, all right, you're playing drums. We'll get Nick on bass. And so she always just rises to the challenge, whatever it is.
That's pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was going to ask you if you guys have specific duties, or it's assumed that you have this role and this person has that role. Is it that sorted out, or do you discuss who's going to do what, or if somebody wants to do something different, is it an easy thing to do within the band?
Yeah, I mean, me, Shauna, I guess we have fairly defined roles. Like, I don't think Nick is ever going to want to do anything apart from play the bass. They don't really express any interest in singing or anything, and they're very good at playing the bass and very good at crafting the tone zone. So that's their main, and telling jokes sometimes when I'm trying to fix something. Yeah, so really it's like me and Sean are sort of bouncing between each other, figuring out what we're going to do with the rest of the song. Yeah. Right.
So you got this big tour ahead of you, but I didn't see any dates in New Zealand. What's going on there?
No, we've been to New Zealand once a while back. We'd love to go to New Zealand, but yeah, we're just not sure how much money we have and whether anyone will come to our shows, Marty.
Okay, well, see if we can fix that. Oh,
God. We'd love to go. It's been discussed, but we love it there, so we'd love to go back. But money. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I'll let you off the hook there then. And are you thinking about the next record already, or are you just in the middle of this one?
Right now, no, I'm pretty in the middle of this one. We've done a bit of jamming and stuff on the next one over the last year, but only a little bit, and I haven't started thinking about what the next one will be about or anything. So,
all right. We'll wait and see. All righty. Yeah. Well, good luck on the tour. It sounds like it's going to be a good one, and hopefully you can find a way to get yourself across the ditch here and play for us sometime.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thanks,
have a great
Marty.
day.
Bye.
All right.